Alright, so this is my 03 Duramax here, and I got this AC compressor off of some other vehicle, and I was thinking about getting an onboard air setup here. Saw some online, thought it might be cool, and so these have they come with the factory for a possibility to have a second alternator go right here, and there's like mounts and stuff in here. So I'm thinking we can probably just slap this on in here, bolt it up, and do that. So, but the main problem I'm having is this coolant passageway runs right back here, and like some people will reroute them up the front. I don't know if they're doing that. That's expensive. So we're gonna see if we can make some mounts here to stick this on in here and get her cheeching. I got this piece of 3/16 plate, and I drew some lines on here with the holes. So now I'm just gonna take this steel sticker on there, line it up with the holes-ish, centered-ish. About good. Take a punch here. Jump a little there. We have our center punches for where we need to drill our holes. So I made a little cardboard template of the tab that I'm gonna weld on the bottom of the plate for the compressor, and then I got another piece of 1/8 inch here. I'm just gonna line this up somewhere, cut some of these out, weld them to the bottom, hope it works. Alright, so now I got these tabs cut, and we're just going to take the template and mark where the hole needs to be on just one of them. And I'm going to clamp them together and drill the hole up through both at the same time. Alright, so the hole is probably going to be like right there. Take a punch. Alright, so I got it all situated in place. I have to do some lines on there to get everything square. And now I'm going to weld it in place. I put a bolt across to make sure the holes line up. And yeah, there we go. Alright, so I've gotten this bolted in place, just like real loose in there. and so you can see it's hitting the plates hitting the power steering cap. So I'm just gonna notch around it so that I can, you know, open that. Right, so I've got it all set in place here. I notched on here, so now you can actually like get the power steering cap off, which is good. And so right now it's just mounted like it still rocks, but there's threaded holes down here, right here. These have threads in them. So what I'm thinking is probably gonna weld like some tabs on the side of this where I can just throw a bolt in. I'll hold it up like that. So otherwise, it's all good. The alignment seems good with the other pulleys. I'm gonna have to order a new belt, but I think it'll work. Alright, so I got this plate fabbed up and I'm just gonna weld it on and hope it works. So I just slotted these so these bolts can fit in here and slide around, which is good because I wasn't very precise with it. So now I can go install it in the truck. Right, so I've got the compressor mounted on with this bolted on, and so I put a belt on it. And to get this belt on, I just put a idler off of this, and then this belt is, I think, for a dual alternator setup. Not sure, but yeah. See, the problem I'm having though is it's kind of riding up. I'm thinking that's because this the compressor's tilted too far forward. So I'm gonna try and put some like washers underneath it, tilt it back up. We're gonna see how that works. Alright, here it is. It's working, it's tracking good. All set, ready to get plumbed in. So the way I had it set up was this idler was in here, and the bolt for this went into this hole, which was what the bracket was resting on. You know, the bolt ran from all the way up here into here. This isn't threaded, it's just a sleeve or whatever, and then the bracket would sit on here and then up to these, right? And I think the problem with that, and it was on the truck working kind of, the problem was that is with the idler all the way out here, it put a lot of load on the end of that bolt, and it was just a grade 5 bolt. And what happened was that bolt ended up snapping. And so it's kind of made me rethink this and kind of want to readdress that mount because it was kind of sketchy the way it was. You know, it was just kind of like all thrown together and only really just like rested on here. Didn't really work great. And I want to put the idler over in here. There's the actual mount for it. I don't know if you can see it. Right in here somewhere, there's an actual mount on the block. It's cast, you know, obviously for the dual alternator setup. So I'm gonna try and use that, and I gotta move the compressor more like, you know, inward so that I can hopefully run one of those belts. So yeah. And so I made this little cardboard bracket, and it seemed to fit, but it was kind of like bent a little because, you know, it is cardboard. So now I'm gonna try and cut it out of steel and see if it'll work, because that'd be great. So now I got the plate cut out, and I center punched all the holes for these bolts, and I'm gonna drill those out and see how it bolts on, and then I'll work on the mounting points. So I got it all bolted in place, all the holes line up, which is good. So now I'm gonna bend these tabs out and drill the holes on these 2 tabs, trying to get them to line up on the original AC bolts. So now I got these 2 tabs bent and the holes drilled on them. So I'm gonna go test them out on the truck, see if they line up. So I pulled the AC bolts out just to get these holes lined up. And as I'm sticking in here, I realized that it's hitting this mount right here. So I'm gonna have to cut a little notch back here. This isn't a big deal, it's just a pain. So I got it notched down here, so it goes around that. And then I also had a notch up here because it was hitting on that bitting there. And I got these two holes lined up. It looks pretty good in there, actually. These aren't tight yet, so it still moves around, but everything looks good. I might have to clearance that out of the way for the compressor, but I think it should go over this, so that's not a big deal. Yeah, looking good. So, this onboard air setup, I had this whole bracket made up, which worked in here. You know, it bolted on up in here, on these bolts, right? And then the compressor mounted on there, and it worked. And the compressor mounted. I never got the belts around just because I couldn't find a belt the right length. But I kind of stopped with this project, not because it wasn't working. Like, I had the compressor was mounted in here well. This was sturdy, you know, this bracket was made, which was pretty much the hardest part. But it just kind of got to a point where, you know, I kind of was cutting my losses. It was gonna be not a lot of money, but it was gonna be a lot of work to get all the other stuff run. You know, the compressor I had was this kind of style compressor that needs oiling. You know, it's not, it doesn't have a sump in it or whatever. So it would have needed an oiler and a filter and like a bunch of other stuff. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's an old rotten truck. I just decided it wasn't worth it. You know, I was just gonna end up selling the truck anyway. So I kind of gave up, but I did get the bracket made and stuff. And so pretty much I could really, if I wanted to, and I want to dump the money in it. But I just kind of, you know, decided against it. So that's why I didn't end up finishing it.